So we're here on our last night in Puebla. We're gonna have a drink overlooking the Zócalo with the cars below, people walking in the park. It's a beautiful evening, not too hot, not too cold. Cheers to Puebla.
Hi, I'm Greg.
And I'm Alice.
We're punk expats in Mexico.
And today is our third day in Puebla. We're going to try and get to everything that we haven't gotten to yet. So join us.
Ya llegó, ya está aquí, el agua, por solo 10 pesos. Sí.
Puebla maintains a small colonial town feel.
From aguas frescas to artisanal hand-rolled cigars, the feeling is small town and intimate.
It's early morning and we're here at the Sapos flea market. That's not the official name, but we're not sure if it's La Calle de los Sapos or Callejón de los Sapos, but there's a lot of Sapos around here. Callejón de los Sapos has a vibe similar to La Lagunilla, but it's much smaller. You'll find antiquities and used items as well as some new handicrafts.
I found out that due to its proximity to volcanic clay, Puebla is the home of this traditional pottery called Talavera. And we couldn't resist buying a piece of Talavera for our tia from a guy who is wearing a really cool shirt that says, "Just drugs."
We went early, but we found out that early morning may not be the best time to get there. Vendors show up later and it really gets going in the mid-afternoon.
El Museo Amparo was another stop on our must-see list. We didn't even get past the Antigüedades. It's such a huge collection, as you can see here.
God, I love this one. I don't know what it is. What is that, a bat?
Bats figure heavily in. This one actually is a bat. It has a bat nose.
Well, we only had time to go through one collection in this museum. We went through the Pre-Columbian Collection, and it is definitely worth repeated visits if you want to get through all the collections.
One of my favorite features of this museum is how they take pre-Hispanic drawings and create animations of them so that you understand the role of this particular deity. In this instance, we're looking at Tlaloc, who is walking the earth carrying an urn full of water, which is spilling onto the earth, watering the soil, causing vegetation to grow, basically bringing new life and sustenance to the earth and to the inhabitants of the earth. It's just a really beautiful representation of this god. On the other hand, you have a recognition of the omnipresence and inevitability of death, and that is certainly celebrated in the artwork of these pre-Hispanic people.
Here we are at the Mercado El Parian. This is a special place for artesanías. That means if you like handicrafts, things like candles or bags or sandals or blankets or embroidered clothing, candies. There are
and
so many
anything
things.
you can think of that's made by hand.
Yes, anything that you can think of that's made by hand and that like reminds you of Mexico, especially if you are buying gifts for friends who maybe haven't been to Mexico before. This is the place to find them, but it's also a really cool place just to check out traditional artisanal work. Like There's like handmade baskets, there's stuff that's hand embroidered, things that are really, they're passed down. The tradition of making things by hand is passed down through the generations. And if you do get here, do take the time to appreciate how much work went into some of these. These are not mass manufactured things. So although you're expected to bargain, make sure that you bargain with the intention of like paying a fair price and valuing all the hours of work that went into creating that handmade blouse or blanket.
Or the poncho or whatever it is. For many of these people, this is their primary means of subsistence. It's worthy of your respect and your time. Definitely worth a trip. Also worthy of your time and attention is the Biblioteca Palafoxiana. Founded in 1646, it is the oldest library in the Americas. This library was created by Juan de Palafox, who was the bishop of Puebla. It contains original manuscripts because at the time they weren't using the printing press for some of these books, so a lot of these are handwritten. Around the time that this library was created, the Spanish Inquisition was going strong, and apparently the bishop had a predilection for some forbidden books. Naughty books! The books weren't so much naughty as they were considered heretical by the church, and by heretical it could be something as simple as natural science, or a book proposing the radical notion that the earth revolved around the sun. This section, labeled Oratoria Profana, marks the place where the bishop would have kept his banned books. The Biblioteca Palafoxiana houses many one-of-a-kind books and is considered one of the world's repositories of rare manuscripts.
From the sacred to the sacreder, we go to La Capia del Rosario, where we go for Baroque. Seriously, we drop lots of change into those little donation boxes. The Capilla del Rosario was completed in 1690. It's dedicated to Our Lady of the Rosary, or La Virgen del Rosario.
It's considered one of the best examples of new Spanish Baroque style and one of the greatest artistic religious achievements in Mexico. It's easy to imagine indigenous people who are being converted or maybe forced into Catholicism coming into this space and being filled with the sense of awe and wonder.
Or maybe they just wondered why, with all this wealth, they were not getting any of it. They were still eating beans and being forced to work for free.
That's possible as well. There's no denying that this is a magnificent example of religious architecture, and it does take one's breath away. Absolutely worth the trip. I think it's one of the highlights of a visit to Puebla.
Yeah, I agree. In our last installment, we talked about the Santo Niño Doctor, who heals people who have ailments. This time, we're looking at a place closer to home, and by that I mean a place close to our Airbnb, where there was a Niño Cieguito. Niño Cieguito is similar to El Santo Niño Doctor in that he performs miracles, and usually they are health related. He's specifically called upon to heal people who have eye ailments. Like Santo Niño Doctor, the statue was originally meant to represent baby Jesus. The statue was brought to Puebla by a Capuchin nun, but within days people noticed the beautiful green eyes that looked like emeralds.
The legend is that a thief hid in the chapel with the intention of stealing the emerald eyes, but when he pried out the eyes, the statue began to cry tears of blood, and the thief ran away in terror. Every August 10th, the faithful of Puebla gather to commemorate this miraculous event. For our last stop, we took a historic tour bus out of the Centro, past the stadium where Queen played in 1981, which is ironically located next to the Fuerte Loreto.
The tour bus drove us by the Fuerte Loreto, the site of the famous Battle of Puebla, better known in the U.S. as the Battle of Cinco de Mayo. A battle where French interventionists faced off with the Mexican population. General Lawrence led a large, well-trained army against General Ignacio Zaragoza, who led a much smaller army of untrained patriots. Against all odds, and due in large part to the strategic use of tunnels, the Mexicans won. And that's why we celebrate Cinco de Mayo. But they mostly celebrate it in Puebla.
So, just to be clear, Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Independence Day. It is the day the Mexicans defeated the French at the Battle of Puebla. Sadly, we've come to the end of our visit to Puebla. Part of travel for us is sightseeing, and Puebla has no shortage of beautiful sights like the one behind me. But a bigger part of travel for us is learning new things and asking questions. And in that respect, Puebla did not disappoint. There was a lot of food for thought in this city, a lot of really interesting stories, and things that really made us think about our own heritage and our own preconceptions. So if you like our videos and you like the way we do things, please consider subscribing, give us a thumbs up, and be sure to come back and watch our next video. We'll see you again soon.